And we are live, Manali. All right, everyone. So after 2 Tuesdays of tech glitches, Manali and I are finally live with our Tuesday talk with iThrive. And this month we're actually covering a lot on hair loss, hair growth, and we thought of talking about that today about hair thinning in women, especially what is at the root of that problem, right? So, for those of you who don't know yet, Manali heads our R&D division. She's the chief of R&D at iThrive, and you'll only find her like doing some deep research in some corner, if not making reels that are. Welcome Manali for today's Tuesday talk with iThrive.
Yes,
And
thank you, Mugdha.
yeah, let's get to it. So, where do we start? Do we want to start? So, I know you were researching this topic quite a bit because we're doing also the webinar on Friday around this.
Yes,
And what have you found so far about what really triggers hair thinning in women?
right. So, as we all know and as we all understand, it's mainly on the lifestyle and how we treat hair. But again, coming to the functional nutrition perspective of it, we understand the deep insights to it, like why it has happened, it is happening, and the nutrition and the internal health that we focus on. I think we made a reel on that too. So, one thing that I found, as you always say, that whenever there is stress or some, uh, the priority of the body changes, and hair
Correct.
and skin, it is the secondary thing. So, at that time, the body and the nutrition. So, again, we are eating, it is going to the digestive system and it is being transported to each and every cell. But at that time, the hair growth or the maintaining the nutrition or the hair health of the hair is not a priority. So at that time it gets compromised. So yes, in this live we are going to address different aspects, like why it is being not a priority and why what needs to be done.
Correct.
So stress is, I think, one thing, and let's dig deep into why stress, like what happens exactly in stress.
Yeah, so this actually has to teach when I has to do the academy module on mind body medicine. I used to talk about this that yes, it's like there is no human who really has a stress free life, right? I'd met one person who said no, I have no stress in life, and that person was the most
There
accurate.
are.
Stress is a natural part of human evolution, but if we don't have the right abilities and the techniques to deal with stress, to perceive and respond to stress, then our body helps us deal with it at the cost of something else, right? So typically, our hair and our skin, even our sexual, like reproductive system, pays a price because
Yes,
in the event of a stressful event, or even if it's like chronic, even something like PTSD, your body is like constantly trying to regulate and bring itself back into homeostasis where it feels threatened. So
yes,
then, having really great shiny hair, great skin, and being able to make babies is not priority, right? So hair is a casualty of long-term stress. And why is that, right? Like, what is the actually underlying mechanics? One is also you were talking about deficiencies when we were discussing a little while ago.
right.
During stress, one is cortisol itself, but what kind of deficiencies, right? What happens? Why do deficiencies crop up during stress?
Yes, so deficiencies again. So when we talk about the hair bulb, okay, so that is the tip of the hair where it gets all the nutrition and whatever necessary nutrients are there. Let's say vitamin D, zinc, biotin. So it is like deposition. So it needs that amount of nutrients when the hair will grow out. So if that is compromised, again the hair grows hampered. And as you mentioned, stress. So again, when cortisol goes up, it's not that priority. So the fallout, the rate of the hair falling, it increases, and it is because it's not a priority. It doesn't focus on the regrowth. So that is how stress plays a role, and there are many micronutrients which, because of their deficiencies, we can see that again the hair is not a priority and it is not being growing as that way. And I think this reminds me of how you said about pregnancy. So in
Right.
pregnancy, the child, the baby is of utmost priority. So like it is literally leaching all the nutrients from the mother. So it will ensure if the baby is getting all the right nutrients, and the leftover nutrients would be used up by the mother. So hence it is also the hair loss, hair thinning, or changes in hair health is also observed in pregnant women. I think, Mugdha, you had a point to add here.
Yeah, around pregnancy. So before we move to pregnancy, also like see, a lot of times the nutritionists recommend pumpkin seeds and seeds for hair growth. Like people have to understand why. So during periods of high stress, zinc gets depleted, used up by the adrenals, and then zinc is a vital nutrient again for good quality hair. Like all
Yes.
minerals are, but zinc gets depleted the most during stress, right? And then pumpkin seeds and all are a good source of zinc. So I've seen people come and say that, oh, but I had pumpkin seeds and my hair grew, and then like the underlying reason is because of the zinc in those pumpkin seeds, right? And then coming to the pregnancy point, there's also like I personally also experienced this during my pregnancy. I had like the lushest hair growth during pregnancy, right? Like, and I think it's something to do with the growth hormone that's surging through the body. All the hormones are primed for growth, right? Like growth of the baby.
Yes.
That created my growth. Also, I also became like extremely overweight, but my hair really, really became nice and lustrous during pregnancy and post delivery. Within a couple of weeks, or by the third week, I started noticing large amounts of hair, like just losing hair. And I panicked. I thought like I'm gonna go bald now. And then I realized later that a lot of women experience post pregnancy hair loss. Why that happens is the growth hormone that was surging through your body, that was triggering even follicular growth for your hair, that's no longer there, right? So as the levels start, and a lot of women report hair loss after 3 months, post pregnancy after 3 months, because typically the whatever that anagen phase or that phase of the hair, the
Hmm.
resting phase of your hair is usually 3 months, right? So if all those hormonal surges are not being experienced by your body, there's nothing to push growth, so it starts falling. Secondly, so primarily hormonally driven, but like the point I want to make here is you lose hair and it'll look like you're losing a lot of hair, but if you actually compare it to your pre-pregnancy hair, it's the same volume, right? So this is just the extra hair that
It's
grew that
just the
seems,
extra. Yeah.
it's a shedding of that extra hair. In my own case, also, I had the same amount of hair pre pregnancy after the shedding entirely happened, and I did not go bald like my worst fear. But so that's about pregnancy. And if I think the tech glitch is back, but Manali also is back.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other thing, Manali, remember you were talking about thyroid, and then see the pregnancy hair loss also has a lot to do with how a lot of women experience thyroid issues post pregnancy, right? But whether pregnant or not, thyroid dysfunction itself can cause hair loss. What is the nature of that?
Yes, so the regulation, as we all know, that the thyroid gland is responsible for maintaining the homeostasis body wise. So it is temperature regulation, or it is metabolism regulation. So it is just maintaining if everything is going well in the body. So I think we observe it in hypothyroidism as well as in hyperthyroidism, that the hair is at the toll. So it either becomes dry or coarse, or women usually observe hair fall. So again, there are many of the root causes of thyroid dysfunction is again micronutrient deficiency. So the thyroid gland is not getting the right nutrients, which is why it is not able to maintain the balance, and hence it is also reflected at hair level.
All right. And what else I've seen as a thyroid pattern? If you're losing hair because of a thyroid dysfunction, you often end up losing eyebrow hair also.
Yes.
So this, like the length of your eyebrows start shortening, your eyebrows start losing their density. So that's a very typical thyroid hair loss issue. So if you're experiencing that pattern, definitely get your TSH ultra sensitive T3 T4 checked, because it could
3D3.
also be, yeah, it could also be an signal of an underlying autoimmune kind of a condition, right?
Yes.
So that's, you had a very interesting observation and some research nugget that you pulled out about obesity, right?
Yes,
How
yes,
obesity can
yes. So
contribute.
inflammation. So coming to the inflammation, as we deal with it, that the root cause of many underlying causes. So we all know that obesity is also one of the things which can be developed through inflammation. So it was an interesting study. It was new for me as well. So when there is obesity, again the hair growth, because it is like a mini organ. So skin and the hair follicle, it's like mini organ. So its natural process, it gets hampered because of obesity, because of that inflammation. So otherwise, which is naturally observed in aging, we all know that as we age, the hair starts becoming thinner. So the same mechanism is also observed during obesity because of the inflammation nature. So I think this is again a new target for us to address the obesity, and then see the hair quality, because that could be the root cause. Otherwise, your nutrition, your lifestyle might be all good, but because of inflammation, because of the obesity, your hair would be becoming thinner.
Right. So, like basically, obesity also is a metabolic dysfunction, right? And then like those extra adipocytes create so many more pro-inflammatory compounds as that
Right,
circulate throughout your
right.
body.
So
So, I
although
didn't
all
know this. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so although it's like an overnutrition condition, we are not sure if the micronutrients are reaching into the
Right.
optimal levels.
But would this also be then applicable in obesity because of other causes? Like we were talking of these obesinogens from the environment, right? Like toxins that
Yes,
trigger obesity, where fat
yes,
actually is coming in as a protection to prevent toxins from circulating in your body. So this kind of hair loss, which is obesity triggered, is it applicable in cases where obesity is happening because of overconsumption of calories and insulin resistance and that kind of obesity, or any kind of obesity is inflammatory enough to trigger hair loss?
no, so here we are talking about the inflammation. So if we look at the inflammatory markers, so it is driven by that. But as you speak about the environmental factors, again, that is a separate root cause for
Right.
hair thinning and hair loss. So may it be UV radiation, may it be EMFs or pollutants or toxic products, as we say, harsh chemicals. So that is a separate root cause for hair thinning.
On its own, it can trigger hair
Yes,
loss, right?
yes,
And talking about toxic, I mean, we're jumping context here, but like since we're like just talking about individual causes of hair loss, what have you seen so far about products, right? Like all the hair styling products and all of these things that people very generously use, and obviously they do create a nice aesthetic appeal, right? Like your hair
yes.
looks different, it looks neater, tidier, and all of that. But what's the long-term consequence of using these products? Do these actually
Right.
damage hair?
Yes, so but it is like habit forming, and it is only until the time we use those products. If we take that out from the equation, the hair starts immediately showing the ill effects of it. And on the long run, yes, because it is paying a load on the nutrition. So yes, balding is also a side effect because of the use of the harsh chemicals, because they are not meant for the scalp. At the end, scalp is also skin, so it is affected by the harsh chemicals. May it be harsh like heating treatment if it is frequent. So again, it adds to estrogen. So we recently did a podcast on xenoestrogens as well. So it adds to the estrogen load which is already there in our body. It is naturally being produced, but it is like added extra estrogen which our body doesn't require, and then the body doesn't understand how to handle it. So again, the entire mechanism gets disrupted,
Yeah, and
and
then if your detox pathways are not functioning well, then even like getting these xenoestrogens out, they're just going to keep circulating in the system, and
right,
then
and the exposure, if you look at it, and the pollutants, and there are some things which we cannot control. And on top of it, if you are adding harmful chemicals, let's say high in sulfates and parabens, it is like everyday dose of toxins, and the seesaw, the equation of it is like imbalanced and higher on
imbalance.
the toxin load.
Now, I've noticed like some products after using them immediately I've had hair fall, right? And someone had once laughed at me like, "How can you lose hair immediately?" But I really have experienced
I
it,
even I have observed
right? So there
this.
is that immediacy also of like some ingredients that you apply it on your scalp and your scalp just rejects that along with your
Right,
hair.
yes.
Like, don't dobara mat karna kind of thing.
Yes, yes.
All
So
right,
that
so
is
that, and then we were also talking so from hair products and like shampoos and soaps, right? So we'll come to solutions and what our recommendations are anyway. But going a little bit there, right? So we have one end of the spectrum where there's a lot of things being applied and all of that. There's the other end of the spectrum where hygiene is not being maintained.
yes,
Does
yes.
that contribute to hair loss as well?
Yes. So when we talk about not maintaining hygiene enough, it is which is not washing the hair frequently, or sometimes like I think even applying oil, it is a big of controversy. Like should we apply it, or how long should we keep it? right? Because at times what happens, it adds or it attracts all the dirt and deposition on the
Right.
scalp. So even like the skin, the scalp needs to be cleared. So if we are working out, if we are
It
doing
needs to
exercise,
breathe. Yeah.
right, exactly. So even if you are not able to wash it, let's say two or three times a week, at least make sure you are washing the scalp, not the entire hair, but keeping the skin clean. So yes, because I think you also mentioned that when it is a case of dermatitis, which is skin inflammation. So again, because scalp is also skin, it gets blocked with dirt and oil, and because of the fungal development, it could lead to dandruff, and then it blocks the skin and it cannot breathe, and the hair bulbs do not get the enough space and nutrients to grow out. So I think again it leads to
It
hair
just
thinning.
causes. So you said fungal, right? And that's another thing we've seen. Like if people have an overload of candida or like seborrheic dermatitis due to like this malassezia or any of these yeasts, like fungi and yeasts are notorious in triggering hair fall. Like even including like just patches of hair falling off because that skin has gotten so inflamed because of that infection. So that's one more thing you should be checking. So if you're someone who's experiencing hair loss, hair thinning, check if there's an underlying infection um, that's happening and that's triggering this. Um, so I specifically now want to go into nutrients, right? So we spoke of any other root causes that we missed out on. Hormones, like general hormonal imbalances. How does that trigger hair fall?
Right. So I think I've observed it in cases of, let's say, menarche. I think the early stages of menstruation, may it be next stage could be pregnancy. Then I think in menopause also women experience that their hormones, because hormones are on toss, they observe change in their hair growth. So I think everything, whenever there is hormone imbalance, how you mentioned thyroid health, so thyroxine hormone or the prolactin, which goes high. So again, it increases the damage on the hair follicles, and which is why there is increased amount of hair fall or hair loss, hair thinning. And yes, so I think whenever hormones are at a toss, I think again it's the cause of
And I think
the
we see that even with the PCOS, PCOD cases, right? When the hormones are in a flux, like the estrogen, progesterone, prolactin, everything is all over the place. Even that we
right.
see impacts hair growth rate and hair loss also. One thing we didn't discuss was also post COVID, like long COVID related hair
Yes.
loss. So we'll come to that. But yeah, the autoimmune conditions, right? Like, so there is alopecia areata, which is an autoimmune condition where people lose hair, like the tissue that gets targeted is the scalp tissue itself. But other than that, you were speaking of drug induced and then
Yes,
autoimmune induced hair loss, right?
yes,
So what is
yes,
that?
yes. So when we speak autoimmune, it is, as the name suggests, it is autoimmunity. So our immune cells are attacking on our own body, which in this case is attacking on the skin, like the hair follicles. So again, as a like, where our body is not able to recognize if it's an antigen, virus or bacteria coming from the outside, or it's our own hair follicles. It by mistake attacks our own cells, which is why it could lead to hair thinning. And talking about the drugs and medicines, so how we talked about harsh chemicals which are applied on hair, like hair products, even the harsh medicines, pharmaceuticals which are of high dosage, many of those medicines have side effects like hair loss or hair thinning, because again it is attacking on the cells and it is too harsh for our body to take in. So as a result, as a side effect, our body starts losing out hair, and yes, so it needs time to recovery until it gets everything in homeostasis and balance, until it regrows the hair.
And now we've spoken of the root causes, like the assorted root causes why
Yes,
somebody could be actually losing hair, right? So,
yes,
how does one find out what is really at the root of they not having hair roots?
right.
That
So
is such
I
a sorry. Yeah, what is at the root of someone
roots.
losing hair? Yeah.
Yes. So, as we say, I think through our this assortment, we got an idea of where different aspects, or not just diet, not just lifestyle, anything, any chemicals. It could be like varied. So, I think pre-scanning, that's where I think our consultations help, or talking and scanning, or checking yourself through all these areas where you're lacking, or some wherever you think that there could be a disturbance. That reminds me of also, tendencies of eating disorders. So some people
Right.
have like playing with hair, or they pull out hair when they are stressed. So that adds again to a trauma, which is like physical trauma to the hair, and it impacts the hair health. So we need to scan all these factors, and I think that's where our root cause analysis, the blood testing helps, because internally, obviously, we can check the lifestyle diseases, lifestyle modifications and patterns, but internally we need to check if our body, if our system is getting all the right nutrients. So there are many nutrients which we covered in micronutrient deficiencies, maybe iron, folic acid. I think many people know that people recommend biotin, vitamin
Biotin. I was just
B7.
going to ask you about biotin.
Yes,
Everyone says hair loss is equal to like to improve, take biotin. But there are so many other nutrients that are involved
right,
in the picture, right?
right. Yes. So
So
there's
things, your B complex and then biotin, but even iron, like if you have anemia, you could be
right.
losing hair, right? Like iron deficiency, anemia can cause hair loss. Protein deficiency, like extreme protein deficiency, of course, is that malnutrition disease called kwashiorkor, which we all learned. But protein deficiency actually happens more on a day-to-day, more insidious way, and it shows up in these things like losing more hair than you should be.
Yes.
So protein, I don't think anyone ever loses hair because they're not having enough carbs, no? No, like I'm genuinely asking, like when
So
looking at nutrients, no, carbs has no role to
no,
play.
no. And I think it's hard to find people who don't have enough carbs. I
Yeah,
know
like
there
even
are people who do
I don't
keto.
think that they would ever lose hair. Like hair, I mean, not
They are
having
made
carbs
of
and the
protein.
stress that creates, that's
Yeah.
a separate thing, right? But as a nutrient, protein is the biggest, most important macronutrient, and then you have the micros, which is your iron
Yes.
and B complex and all
Yes.
your vitamins and
Yes.
minerals and all of that. And then, so one is like get your test done to find out these root causes, right? After that, we spoke of a lot of autoimmune things that could be
Yes.
impacting or hormonal imbalances. So, how do people discover that if that's at the root of it?
Yes, so there are separate like advanced tests for, like, once we do the basic panel, we look at the blood. There are separate advanced tests for detecting autoimmune. So if it is and autoimmune conditions are always related. So if you have autoimmunity at one particular location, let's say hair, you also might observe it in your skin or near your thyroid or your gut related. So there are advanced tests to find out if there are auto antibodies reacting to those organs. So again, that can be tested. And I think looking at the symptoms also, it would give us an idea if it's the case. And also, I think there's a genetic tendency of developing autoimmunity. So your
Yeah.
family history would also help here.
Family history, and then of course, like the pathogen load and all that you spoke of, right? So, one is like
Yes.
pathogens directly impacting your scalp, and then like underlying pathogenic infections inside the body, viral, bacterial, fungal stuff, which could then trigger
Right.
autoimmunity, which then
Or
triggers
some previous infection which we don't know, like we thought it's an infection, it's gone now, but now it's creating autoimmunity somewhere else in the body.
somewhere else. And general hormone imbalances that just regular labs also people can go in and
Yes, yes, there
right?
are additional tests we need to ask for that, and yes, we can look at its optimal ranges and make a say.
So, what else nutritionally, like if someone was watching this, right, what
Hmm.
are the tips that you think you could offer them? Like, of all the people currently in my reality, you seem to have the most gorgeous hair. So, what tips would you offer to people?
Yes, so I think coming to the nutrients part, as you said, protein. So, firstly, protein, because hair is also made of protein, the keratin thing. So, protein as itself, we need it. And again, for the iron. Now, iron is also important for the hair health. So, iron is only absorbed when there is protein. Okay, if the source has iron and protein together, the iron is well absorbed, which is why I think heme protein is also more effective. So we need protein for iron also, even for vitamin B digestion. So absorption of vitamin B's, we need protein. Then when we say take biotin, or I think people recommend multivitamins, instead of going for multivitamins, we can have a look at the blood test and see
Yeah.
only, pay attention to only those which need to be supplemented. And there are many nutrients, let's say calcium, which is best had through food, because there could be like addition and toxicity of calcium, which we don't want. We need
Yeah,
a
and then stones and
balance
all
of,
of that can happen, right? So, we don't want it.
right, right. So we need to maintain the balance of magnesium, vitamin D, which will take care of the calcium levels. So again, biotin, not going for biotin, because we know that B, all the B vitamins, they are absorbed better when they are together. So it's better to take a B complex supplement instead of only going for biotin, because there could be like folic acid, again, is important for hair health, which is B9. So again, if you are deficient on that and if you're taking B7, it won't help you.
Right.
So going for B complex. Then I think taking care, so not exposing yourself to heating appliances on a frequent basis.
Hmm.
Because like my formula, if you would ask me, whenever it is necessary, if you know, if you want to make it a priority that yes, I want to look good, or whenever it's only like a high priority, at that time you should go and do, like, I won't recommend, I don't do it, but
Hmm.
don't do it like regular thing that
Everyday thing.
every
Huh.
occasion or every weekends or every time I go out I'll heat treat my hair. So that's not an option. And I think we also ask our clients to, for many switches when it comes to toxins. So there are personal care products, shampoos and hair care products which are free from toxins. So let's say sulfates, parabens. You just need to switch the hair care product. You just need to read the ingredients. There are SLES, SLS written on it. So there are nowadays products available which are like 100% botanical, which are made from herbs and they do not have any chemicals. So I think that's a better way to go ahead instead
Yeah,
of.
I've also seen like when so I don't use any toxic products anyway, right? But if at all, like if there's an event or if I have to like shoot or something, and I used to do
Hmm.
that earlier, that every week when these guys would
Hmm.
like come to the
Hmm.
shoot, I would go and get my hair done, and then I realized I was like weekly now exposing my hair to
Right.
salon wala products, which I didn't want to do because already I had like such a huge toxin burden. And I see that like just using, I use organic harvest ka products, right? They're really clean. So I use that. I use Oroville's. Oroville has a probiotic enriched conditioner.
Oh, okay.
Ha, it's pretty cool. So I use that, and my hair is like
Hmm.
generally chill with that, right? I don't need to do much, but I think that's really, really important that to not get misled by all the marketing that we
Yes.
see on TV
Yes.
and in movies, right? Like amazing looking, bouncy, perfectly set hair all of the time. It's really unrealistic to kind of expect that for yourself on a day to day basis, because if you do that, you're doing it at the cost. Like
Yes.
you might look
On the
good for
long.
the moment, but
Yes.
long term, it's really going to have. And once you lose hair, you can check with Avinash; it doesn't come back, right? So that's there. Also, there is this treatment with minoxidil. Have you researched into that? I was going to go a little
Mm,
deeper just before the
no,
webinar.
no, no. I haven't heard about it.
So minoxidil is this finasteride, which is so a lot of for a male pattern balding, right? They
Okay.
recommend it, and it's a DHT blocker, so it
Good.
promotes hair growth. But I have to research a little bit, so I'll mostly talk about that when I
Okay.
do the webinar on Friday.
Yes.
But I'm sure it has health risks. And I know one that it reduces testosterone levels also. So for men using minoxidil for hair growth, it actually has implications on their sexual health,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So that's never good. What is the so Richa is asking what is the optimal level of DHT for 33-year-old female? I don't remember the optimal ranges. Do you know?
No, no. We need to check.
Yeah, but Richa, maybe on the academy group we can share that with you once we find out, because we are now researching into optimal ranges of hormones, right? So
Hormones. Yes.
individually each hormone we are checking and we're figuring out what should be the optimal range. Um, I've come across peptide therapy as something that's happening in the world right now for hair loss. But again, that is something I'm researching about. There seems to be a lot of promise of using this particular peptide called copper peptide. It's GHKCU topically, and it prevents hair loss and it also promotes thickening of the follicle and like
Okay.
even that anagen phase na, where how long your hair is staying in the follicle before it drops out, so it increases that duration also, so you end up having longer hair. So again, that's something about something that is worth researching. Saw palmetto, Varun, even I had found it at some time when I was working on a client case, but it seems mostly anecdotal, right? So the mechanism of saw palmetto is not something I can remember properly right now. It has something to do with DHT itself. Um, How much hair fall do you consider normal? Yes, Manali, how much hair fall do you consider normal?
Yes, so I like theoretically it's 50 to 100 hair strands per day, and it is whenever we comb our hair, we see it. If we don't comb for 3 4 days and we see a lot of hair, it's again the addition of that. But I
No,
think
that's
it
actually
differs.
strands growing every day also, na?
Yes, yes. It regrows and then the balance is met. But yes, Mukta, you were telling that it's not the same for everyone, and even the length thing that you were mentioning.
Yeah, yeah. So this is something I had like when I wanted to see why my hair wouldn't grow beyond a certain length, right? Like my hair would grow and then it would be mostly like mid shoulder, little like above my waist, and
Hmm.
then hair growth wouldn't go beyond. Like I wouldn't really get long hair even if I had like not cut my hair for 2 3 years, right? So what happens is mostly genetically primed, but the duration. So your hair grows as long as the bulb, as in
Hmm.
the as long as it's there inside the follicle,
Yes.
it's receiving nutrients, your hair will keep growing. Now, for some internal timer that's different to every human being, that duration is different. So, for some of us, the hair will continue to be in the follicle until it really grows up to your maybe leg length. For some of us, it like for me, it stops here, right? Like hair growth stops here. So the hair will be like a three after 3 months, it will be here for as long as whatever is the duration that's set inside, and then it'll fall. So my hair never really grows too long. Even if it does,
Okay.
it's like a few
Hmm.
stringy strands that will grow long.
Right, right. That needs to be cut.
And then the rest is mostly here. So if I
Hmm.
cut my hair really short,
Hmm.
I look like
Hmm.
I have a thick, voluminous
Okay.
head of hair.
Yes.
If I let it grow long, then the little straggly ones that have made it despite the genetic timer will, will become longer, right?
Yes. So
So
in this case, like if we do give, like if we are ensuring that the nutrition is met, still it won't grow beyond that length, right?
there is an internal timer which determines when it's supposed to fall, right?
Okay.
So and maybe things like your copper peptides and all can increase that, and then if it's there
Hmm.
for longer, it's receiving nutrition longer, it might grow longer,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
we
We
don't
need
know.
to
So we
maintain
are sharing what we have so far
research and
uncovered and
found.
what we've
Yeah.
discovered and what we've seen with our client work. And I'm sure there is like, and hair is not our primary area of research. Like if we were Richfield as a company, we would have done research only on that. So Varun is saying that saw palmetto acts like a inhibitor to alpha reductase. Okay, so that's not
Not
something I
a.
know much about. Maybe I don't know, Manali. Do you
No,
know?
no, no. Even I haven't heard about it.
But what we've seen now is like just correcting nutrient deficiencies, like getting higher quality nutrition into the system, taking care of these autoimmune things, bringing back hormonal
Yes.
balance itself brings a huge turnaround in a lot of people's hair health. And long COVID, one of the symptoms was lots and lots of hair
Yes,
loss.
I think I've heard many people say that.
So there could be so many reasons, right? So COVID is like one viral infection that's
Infection.
highly inflammatory, right? Like the cytokine storm and all that happens is insane, and that inflammation remains for a really long time. Like people have respiratory issues even after COVID is cleared off from the system. So the spike protein in the from the SARS-CoV-2 is inflammatory. Secondly, that phase of actually suffering with COVID is something that again depletes the system. And I think it does trigger a lot of latent inflammation in the body. Like it stays in the body. Like so many other pathogens, na,
Yes.
SARS-CoV also doesn't get eliminated from the system. So that's one more reason. So when we treat people for long COVID, right, like bring the spike protein levels down and get their deficiency levels corrected and all that, later on we see hair regrowth also happens.
But I think yes, progressively it gets better.
It gets
As
better,
you
it
said.
gets better. But we've seen like lots of people have reported this that post COVID they lost a lot of hair.
Yes.
So evil virus stopped the world from working for 2 years and then making people lose hair. Anything else you want to add, Manali?
No, I think we're done. Yes, one thing. Like we put some stress on cortisol, so as as a result of stress, it hampers the hair regrowth and the fallout is more. So obviously, adding on to stress management techniques, whatever works for you, may it be meditation, may it be talking to people, or journaling, or putting it down on paper. So stress management techniques, more of those. I think yoga also helps there, and I think smoking. So again, it's like in
Oh yeah.
addition to oxidative stress and exposure to toxins. So if you're already doing that, if you can, like, reduce the frequency, or if you can stop it altogether, it would also add on to the hair health.
That's a good point. And sleep. So other lifestyle things, right? So if you're
Yes.
chronically sleep deprived, your hair is
Yes.
going to be again through that entire HPA axis activation, the stress response mechanism. Hair is going to be a casualty of chronic sleep deprivation, right? So get enough sleep, get like the right kind of sunlight exposure, not harsh burning hot
Yes.
sun on your
Yes.
scalp,
Yes.
right? Because that hurts the scalp. It really does. Um, Water, drink water, your nutrients, your nutrition, and like just learn how to perceive and respond to stress differently from what you've been doing so far, right? And that one is a lifetime of learning. I don't think I've also mastered that. But I think that's it. So there are no
Yes.
more questions also. So thank you, Manali.
Thank you, Mugdha. And I'd like to add, so because hair is like a visible, evident part and reflection of our health, I think people are concerned about skin, beauty, hair health, but again, ignoring the underlying dysfunctions that are going inside the body. And only when it gets serious do they realize that, okay, my organs or my pancreas need attention. But again, it could, like, hair could be a good reflector. And if you are getting the idea that yes, your internal system needs check, so I think that needs to be checked first, and then as a result, the hair health would get better.
And I think of all, like skin also recovers, rejuvenates really fast, right? But hair takes very long. It's a pretty complex mechanism, na? Like you have skin, and that you
Yes.
have a follicle inside that you have a hair bulb, and then from that hair grows. So
Uh,
it's
how how Johan says, I think we need to biohack again our health, hair health. Like we need to understand what works for our hair, what is the optimal temperature, what are factors required for our hair health.
So, all right,
Yes.
absorption of protein. Yeah. So, see, when we are like both of us are obviously quite simplifying when we say protein and all, right? Protein itself has so many layers to it. Like if the quality
Yes.
of protein, the absorption, if you don't have the enzymes, if your gut microbiome is messed up, that's going to. So, we can speak for the next 3 years. Like, and now that I'm discovering genetics, I'm like, if your gene, you could be doing all of this, and you have your genes that are not functioning well, everything else is not going to really show any kind of results, right? So
But it still gets better with lifestyle modifications.
it gets better. So despite whatever gene variants I have, for example, I'm still like able to kind of get through life, right, with a sufficiently good amount of energy. So it's just that, like, depending on circumstances, your genetic flaws might show up as dysfunction, or health might show up based on the things you've done for yourself. So that's how it is. But all right, chalo. Thank you so
Yes.
much,
Yes.
and bye
Thank you
bye.
all.
Thank you, people, for watching this. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.